Now we are moving forward to our next session. Ladies and gentlemen, requesting you to kindly get settled down so we can move further. Requesting all of you to kindly occupy our seats, please. So, as we have also many more sessions to conduct and we are running a little bit late, so kindly cooperate. Art Summit, second edition. The theme is clear and we are having many more interaction sessions here throughout the day in different seminar halls. And now we are moving forward for the next session, requesting Ms. Jumana Shah, Senior Associate Editor, India Today, and Mr. Shaji KV, Chairman NABARD. They are already on the dais. So we'll have very interesting Fireside chat. ये पूरा summit जिनके विजन से और जिनके गाइडेंस के वजह से accomplish हुआ है, हो रहा है, and we are having this summit. So इनका विजन जिनका है वो है हमारे NABARD के चेयरमैन सर. So we are really happy to have you and we are eager to know your ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly take your seats. Okay. So, the topic is the cooperative advantage, building sustainable rural economies. And we have with us Ms. Jumana Shah, Senior Associate Editor, India Today, and Mr. Shaji KV, Chairman NABARD. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Very good afternoon to everyone and welcome, of course. It's been a couple of very interesting sessions. I heard one of the first sessions about seaweed and it was very interesting and promising. And I'm really happy to be having this conversation with Mr. Shaji today morning. To get right into dive into the conversation, I will start with a little bit of context building and I'm going to ask some questions to Sir. India's rural transformation cannot be told without the cooperatives. Gujarat, of course, is credited as the birthplace of cooperative movement in India. And it is only apt that this summit, this conference, this convention, mulling about the future of the cooperative sector, integrating technology into the cooperative sector, should be held in Gujarat. So that's, thank you, NABARD, for having this here. India now has over 8.5 lakh cooperative societies, perhaps more, with close to 30 crore members, which means 1 in every 4 Indians is a member of a cooperative society. That is absolutely phenomenal. I think it is, as a demography, as a constitution, it is the most powerful constitution. So it is, at this moment, I feel cooperative sector are gaining significance, but underestimated. Its value is still being underestimated, its potential is still being explored. As new policies, digital platforms, and value chain partnerships emerge, the question is no longer whether cooperatives matter, of course, but how they can evolve into competitive, innovation-led enterprises that create quality jobs, empower rural women and communities, enable youth to stay rooted in villages, the rural economy, and that the ownership of resources stays within the community. That is one of the key achievements of NABARD and the cooperative sector that we see. In this conversation on the building cooperative advantage, building sustainable rural economies, we'll explore what it will take to move from just successful schemes on paper and how translated through technology and benefit real people, real communities on the ground. So, Shaju sir, we'll begin. For this August audience, doesn't need to be told what is the significance of the rural economy and the cooperative sector, but just to build context, can you please tell us Why are cooperatives even today, in a time when the world is turning into a global village, where there is so much information, so much access to rural youth, which was not there earlier, but it's there, yet the cooperative sector is gaining significance. Can you please tell us why does NABARD, its activities, and the cooperative sector matter today?
Yeah, it's good that this we are talking about cooperatives in this Earth Summit, where sustainability is writ across whatever we are doing here, and then if you want sustainable growth, that to a country like India with diversity, and every part of India is in a different stage of growth. Actually, I can tell that because even if you can see sub-Saharan Africa within India, where the people are impoverished, and then the Western whatever scale of growth they have achieved. A lot of Indian geographies have that. So to even out the different levels of development within India, cooperatives are very central because of their very nature. In fact, the cooperatives in India came as a response to crisis. When famines happened during the British India, then the solution didn't come from outside. Solution came from within the society. People started aggregating together as cooperatives or self-help type of thing, which got formalized in 1904 as the Cooperative Societies Act, and which actually accentuated the development of cooperatives within India. But it was a worldwide phenomenon. Wherever, in whichever economies you see, for sustainable growth, cooperatives, that is near the neighborhoods come together for finding solutions. You told about that India 1 in 4 is a cooperative member, but then that is not sufficient enough. If you compare the memberships across the country, even the US, you tell about credit unions. Credit unions are necessarily cooperatives. So they are the largest in terms of banking. Mostly, as the word it denotes, it is a credit union. They came together for dispensing credit because they gather the household resources or some from resources from outside, and then give loans within them. And that exactly is the nature, because any activity, any economic activity needs loan or credit, which can be sourced from those who have surplus money or borrowed from outside. In that context, if you see, in European countries also, if you see the banking sector in those countries, they are predominated by cooperative banking. Whereas in India, it's not so. So you told about 8.5 lakh cooperatives, of which around 2 lakh can be called as credit cooperatives, but then their share in the total credit is less, and it is diminishing as well, which is worrying, because in a rural area, if a private entity comes in and try to do some business activity, whatever welfare is created out of those activities will be taken out as profits. Whereas if it is as a group of their own people coming together, pooling resources and helping them, helping one another, then whatever profits created out of that will be recycled or distributed, recycled for further business activity or distributed as dividends among those. And that very nature will denote that it's a sustainable activity, and then it will find its own equilibrium. And every time that virtuous cycle happens, it will go to a higher orbit of growth, and which will push those part of the country with higher growth and higher incomes. We are talking from Gujarat. You mentioned about Gujarat as a state which actually shown the white revolution, which was driven by cooperatives. I am coming from Kerala, where it's another type of cooperative, that is credit cooperatives are very active, which in data also it is not shown, but then from Kerala, coming from Kerala, I can tell that in those part of the country, it is most of credit activities happening, but in Gujarat, it is business activity which is happening. So there, it is a money lending, which by definition may not improve welfare, but here with business activities happening, the welfare improve, that manufacturing, which is a processing of milk and such other activities, which is now, Aamol is now sold in the US, and it is preferred by the Indian diaspora. And that itself shows that some sort of a manufacturing activity can be done at the world scale by the cooperatives, that is the village women coming together and doing this. So that itself shows the importance of cooperatives in Indian economy. And India is the fastest growing major economy. But then, as I said earlier, different sectors are growing at different pace. Equity in growth is one important concern of the government of India. And realization of that concern itself, the solution of that is in cooperative, and that is why of late NABARD is also rather pushed into those activities related to cooperatives. NABARD as an institution, by Banking Regulation Act, we are the supervisors of the banking cooperatives. But then we were not much involved in other types of cooperatives. Of course, in bits and pieces we were getting involved. But now at the national level, as a concerted action, we have decided that we will work with the rural cooperatives in a large way for sustainability. And whatever, see, our motto is credit-led development, credit-led rural development. But then that credit alone will not matter. Will matter once the other capacities are developed. So we are now working through cooperatives for this.
Yeah. Actually, you partly answered my next question as well as to how is NABARD strengthening PACS, the primary societies at the grassroots, and what are the kind of challenges NABARD is facing, especially because I've done some stories, so I noticed that you're integrating technology into the activities that you're doing. Technology for users in their day-to-day life, as well as at implementation level, at an institutional level. So how, one, you're doing it, and two, what are the kind of challenges you are facing in integrating it at the grassroots? Because the capacity of women, people at the grassroots is a challenge. So how are you overcoming that?
Okay. You mentioned about challenges in cooperatives. In fact, those very challenges, the realization of these challenges happened, that prompted at the national level earlier. I'm telling about around 10 years back, because cooperation by subject is a state subject. It's not in the central list as well. So states can devise their own policy, and that led to different states having different levels of activities. Some states took up very seriously about that, and then half-hearted attempts were there, and some states didn't bother about these things. And NABARD being involved in many of the rural areas, they realized that working with cooperatives is an important thing. Cooperatives are essentially formal entities which are registered entities at the grassroots level. But then initial activities didn't bear fruit. So we started working with informal entities. That is where the self-help group came into being. Small group of women primarily. They came around 10 to 20 will come together and have an informal group. And then the RBI came out with a regulation that these informal groups can open account. So normally, for opening an account, know your customer guidelines are there. KYC. But then informal groups doesn't have any register or certificate that they are a group. So RBI told that, okay, for self-help groups under the NABARD model can open accounts, and that opened a lot of opportunities for flowing, or rather opening accounts and then accessing financial whatever wealth they can, because household savings are there. And then later, from 2015 onwards, because you mentioned about 8.5 lakh or around that much cooperatives are there. They're working in their own wisdom. They didn't have any unified frameworks and such other things. So we were talking to Government of India regarding computerizing. You told about technology. So technology is one means to bring in transparency in whatever they do. So we started talking to Government of India for computerizing these cooperatives. But then initially there was little hesitance because it's mostly a state subject. Why central government should come in? And then came the new Department of Cooperation. Then first the minister is Honorable Minister for Home and Cooperation, Sri Shaji. Yesterday he was here telling about how the discussions evolved regarding the implementation of technology. So one of the first things I did after taking over charge as chairman, was that when the discussion happened with the Honorable Minister, he mentioned that this PAX computerization should happen. Now, Government of India will chip in with this money. So it is not that, it is actually Government of India forced us to do this computerization, and they found that NABARD is the entity which can handle at the national level, because being a state subject at the national level, many of the cooperative entities were not having hold of all the activities, all the gamut of activities which are happening. So then came this scheme of computerization, which is close to around 2,510 crores, of which NABARD chipped in money. 10% of that came from NABARD. Normally, from the central government schemes, it will be state and the center sharing the amount. But in this scheme, NABARD came out with 10% as a show of commitment of NABARD towards the scheme.
Yeah.
Close to around 250 crores we invested. But that is not in money, that is only in the money terms. But then we are using many of our resources, time of our activity, which otherwise would have been into some other rural development activities. Now we are refocusing that into the PAX computerization scheme. And then this being a grassroots level activity where we are infusing technology into people who are not used to. So even they are not literate, forget about digital literacy. So that is the first challenge we are facing, that people are not equipped to handle it. So that means we need to make it more user-friendly in terms of the Indianization of technology need to happen, and then the language of the technology also should be local. Even local dialects also can come in. Local vocabulary needs to come in. So it can't be an English software or a Hindi software. So that is one challenge. And second challenge was that the transparency issue, because every cooperative, because of its very nature, it's a democratic thing. And democracy doesn't necessarily bring in the best of the activities out of a democratic effort. So some sort of a capture can happen. So vested interest will come in. So any entity which is like that, some capture will happen. So as a follow-up of that, there will not be a transparency. So now, infusing transparency will face resistance from them.
Right.
So that is another challenge which we have, which Government of India also realized this as a challenge. And many of the states, the grassroots level, the office bearers of cooperatives came up in arms that we don't need technology, we don't, the technology doesn't understand their activities. So some sort of strange reasons they put. So then we had to overcome the challenge.
Right.
So with the help of state governments and also with the civil society organizations and all, we are working with them. Then the capacity building happens. So capacity, it need to be built. Plus trained manpower is not available. So that realization came, and in fact, I also didn't realize the magnitude of that activity. In one of the discussions in the PAX computerization in the early stages, the Honorable Minister was talking about the computerization and all. Then the straight question from him was that, where will you find trained people? What is the mechanism NABARD has or any other entity has to provide trained manpower for handling this technology? And then he asked the other question, that we are now targeting at say around 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs of societies. At least if you see 2 per society is a trained manpower, we need a massive number, at least 8 to 10 lakh number.
Wow.
So who is handling this? That the solution of that came in. Then he found that there need to be a central entity to handle this, and that was the precursor to establishing the Central Cooperative University in Anand, which he inaugurated some few months back. But then there need to be a lot of regional centers. There need to be certification courses. It's not a degree course which they are looking at. So this, one important thing about all these activities is that it is headed by a person who understands the grassroots level, that cooperative. So before any policy or a bureaucrat telling him the issue, he will point out this issue and ask the bureaucrats to find solution.
Right.
And then he will find the solution also. That's another thing, because it's very, very energizing to feel that a lot of ideas come from himself. And then this training center, which we have, we also have a training center that is Bankers Institute of Rural Development involved in cooperative training. We have a center of excellence there as well. But we deal with credit cooperatives, so non-credit cooperatives also, because the Honorable Minister's view is that not only credit cooperatives, but activity-based cooperatives should be there. And that is where he targeted at forming 2 lakh more such societies, activity societies, which we called as multi-purpose primary agriculture credit society. So that human resource challenge also need to be overcome. Then of course, once technology is there, it's only the technology for that ERP based technology which you are implementing that will generate a lot of data. And data is is actually information.
Fodder. Absolutely.
Without structured data, when this structure, now we tell about 8.5 lakh societies, but we don't have any unified data. Where it is, what are they doing, what is their contribution to GDP. So now, yesterday, an Honorable Minister also was talking about at least 40% of the rural economy should deal with cooperatives, and the quantification of that should come, and we should now monitor that. And plus, what he told is that we have to now take the number of members. I think it should actually make fourfold. Now, 27% roughly of Indian population is in cooperatives, whereas in other countries it is upwards of 35%. So we need to push our levels to that level first. For that, a membership campaign, and then comes other challenge of reducing the influence of vested interests in these societies. So that is depoliticization. I will not tell that it is a bad word. Politicization is in fact, it is an empowering one. Yeah. But then the people who manage these societies, their interests should be aligned with the institution's interests. That realigning of that also, that means we need to work with these leaders of the cooperatives. So that itself is a mammoth task, because they themselves have very very opinionated behaviors. They feel that whatever they say is correct. So we have to we have to actually work with them to change the behaviors, or a new set of people need to come in. And that is where women-led, because if you see that around 90% of cooperative members are male. Yeah. That means 50% of the population we are now, we're not within that. So, but then that 50%, as I said, self-help group is there. There 90% or 95% are women, but they are not into cooperative fold. So now another challenge is that how we can push them into cooperative fold, which we are working in.
Yeah, you're making very concrete efforts and also progress in that direction, because I do know of cooperation among cooperatives which is completely directed for women, empowering women, making them members, and the money goes into their accounts. So one may obviously always argue that when the money goes into a woman's account, does she actually have autonomy over how to utilize it? Well, it may not be, the answer may not be yes today, but as it goes along over a period of time, that does happen. So that holds true for many other sectors also, and hence cooperative sector also. Please, sir, carry on.
So now here the issue is that SHG bank linkage program, which is now scaled up as National Rural Livelihood Mission. Whatever you said as a mission that they are handling their own money, it is happening through the NRLM groups. Here they call it a state rural livelihood mission, but they can reach only to a certain scale. Being informal, that itself will become a negative point when they want to scale up. So that is where we came out with the model of JLG, that is Joint Liability Group. That means 3 or 4. This is just like a partnership company, or 2-3 people who are interested in some particular activity coming together and setting up that activity. But they also, because of need for capacity building or capacity to handle larger projects, they also are limited by activity. So we need to formalize those self-help group into some sort of registered entity, and which is that the mode of registration which is very optimum. That discussions happened at the policy level. So now there is a realization that at the cluster level, that means at least around 40 to 50 self-help groups can aggregate into women cooperatives. And that endeavor, we are now talking to the Rural Development Department to aggregate these self-help groups into cooperative societies of women. Which will be a counterpart of the existing 8.5 lakh cooperatives. Yes. Of course, dairy cooperatives have women participation. Other than dairy cooperatives, not much women participation is there. True. So we have to bring these self-help groups graduate into. So now there is a if you see that the credit flow to self-help groups, the per capita, the per group loan is now increasing, but it is not compensated, or rather parallelly, their economic activity is not sufficient enough to service the interest and also to repay the principal, because they are mostly used for consumption purposes. Of course, at the initial stages of any person, the consumption needs need to be addressed, and beyond that, the economic activity should come in to pay for whatever he or she has taken as loan for consumption thing. But that part, no, it's not happening. Now, this is the right stage that the SRLMs should graduate into economic activity. So that is where now we are working with the NRLM to have enterprises out of these SHGs, and mostly in the cooperative sector. So that will be the way forward. So the strengthening of the existing cooperatives through technology, transparency, and aggregating them with proper data, governance, and such other things. And then at the national level, we need to have a holistic view rather than states having different directions in cooperative development. Of course, at the national level, we'll give the framework where the states will adopt. That is where we have come out with a lot of common guidelines, including the model bylaws, then the HR policies now in the offing, and then the computerization.
Yeah.
So those things will actually unify the activities whole of the country into a common framework. So it can be understood at the national level, and various departments, line departments, what we call agriculture, fisheries, this dairy department, animal husbandry department. So when we target at the grassroots level, the beneficiaries are the same. So whether there can be an unifying force there, where the cooperatives can come in, and they will talk to various departments at the state level and at the national level. But then the convergence at the grassroots level will happen at the cooperatives. And that is the way in which we are now going to strengthen the packs. Technology, of course, is an enabler, which right now, as we speak, we are reaching around crossing 60,000 of the packs now be getting computerized. By computerization, we mean our data is available. So now we have to do the business process re-engineering. That process we are now doing, and also identifying activities which they can take up. Right. The Government of India has now come out with a bouquet of activities, a lot of convergence, thanks to the efforts of the Honorable Minister. Now various departments at the Government of India is now converging to cooperatives, including the Food Corporation of India, which is now engaging with the primary agriculture credit societies for procurement. And he's ensuring that at least a 10-year, because the procurement needs a lot of initial investments. Right. The investments, it means now there should be a proper amortization way. There's some sort of a plan should be there, which is an assured income flow for these packs. That he's assuring through tie-ups with the Food Corporation of India in terms of setting up godowns. There was a mention about yesterday about world's largest grain storage structure, which is coming up in the cooperatives, distributed grain storage structures, which is coming. So such convergence are happening. So it's not merely technology what we are trying to do. We are engaging with the Government of India and also the state governments, but through convergence, lot of economic activities. Plus, as I said earlier, the capacity building of the people to handle these activities also are happening.
Yeah. As a journalist in India, sir, and in Gujarat to be precise, I have covered cooperatives for the last 20 years. In Gujarat, the Aamol movement, the dairy movement has been very significant, and any reporter in Gujarat invariably know much more about the cooperative sector than any other state, even Delhi, if I may say. It is only now in the last 2 to 3 years that I'm seeing a formal and a concentrated movement toward developing and untapping the potential of this industry, of this sector, and of course, hence untapping the potential of the rural economy, and which is why the urbanization and this rapid, massive urbanization has been happening, because the opportunities and potential only existed in urban India. Now, rural India had no option but to migrate. So that is one of the key achievements, I will say, and it is right now still the beginning. I think we are literally at the proverbial tip of the iceberg. There is a lot more that remains to be done. On that note, sir, today is the day when you are completing 3 years as chairman of NABARD. So, congratulations, yes, of course. And as chairman, what is your personal vision for the future of the cooperative sector or for NABARD?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yes, today, incidentally, I'm completing 3 years, and tomorrow onwards, the 4th year starts. But then I am fortunate, whatever activities which I am doing, or rather NABARD is doing now, has a strong backing of the Government of India. That way, the realization that rural development should do in a different way, should be done, not in the usual way. And exactly, I should thank Honorable Minister of Cooperation for that, because he comes from the grassroots level. And there is a realization at the Government of India level. Though NABARD was trying to do this since last 10 years, but then when a man who is from the grassroots came to the hem of the affairs, then he realized, he also, because you told that at the national level there is recognition and all. It all happened because of that, department headed by a person who is coming from the grassroots.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have him when almost parallelly, the Department of Cooperation came in. And then that coincided with the NABARD's vision also. Plus, whatever additional activities which we are doing, I can say that some sort of ideation also happened. In fact, when I was discussing with both the minister and also the secretary cooperation at that point of time, both were hands-on on cooperatives, because this civil service officers at the field postings and all. He incidentally was from Kerala cadre, so he is coming from a credit cooperative background, and minister is coming from the business cooperative background. So these two was a perfect blend. At the national level to have policy meant for unified policy and a holistic and meaningful policy.
Yeah.
And then NABARD came in as an implementation active, with all the wherewithal and experience. So historically, NABARD is the supervisor of the credit cooperative banking in the country. So we understand credit cooperatives better at the national level. No other entity at the national level knows cooperatives better than NABARD. Plus, now the policies which jointly, I can tell you that all the policies, the convergences which are happening at the national level has evolved as part of joint discussions which are happening between NABARD, the Cooperation Department, and the Minister himself getting involved on almost on a fortnightly basis. Plus, the issue is that once the policy and a procedure has been given, monitoring happens. He's in charge of home and cooperation, both. Home is an important department.
Yeah.
In one of the discussions, he was mentioning in a lighter vein that his experience in a village where he was born and brought up, when cooperatives became active in that village, the rate of crime went down. Because people got involved into a lot of economic activities, and then their income increased. That means the other part, the home ministry at the district level, they will have lesser work if Cooperation Ministry is active in that department. So this is, and he was telling about some anecdotal evidences of that. Earlier, the village houses didn't have locks and all, but then theft happened. So then the locks came into being, doors came in.
Yeah.
But when cooperatives became active, it was the reversal
Locks
of
went
that.
back.
Went back. So that, and then this, in many of the states, when he visits, he will tell about his experience and force those states which are not active in cooperative, tell that when he is reviewing the Home Secretary and maybe the SPs in those states, he will tell that you have to now work with Cooperation Department of the state. We are now activating them so that your work can be reduced. So that is the way in which he is trying to push. So now, based on that, whatever whatever we are doing the last 2 years in cooperative, we are adding value to the policies which are given by the government, based on our experience as a grassroots level innovator in rural development. And that is where we are coming out with, we have already established this Sarkar Sarathi initiative, which is a global capability center for cooperatives. It is not only it's initially meant for cooperative banking, but then we will be graduating that into, for all cooperatives, it will be a global capability center, which is also a brainchild of Honorable Minister. So then government has chipped in with 1/3 of the share capital for that. We have given 1/3, the 1,000 crore company, and 1/3 we are actually garnering from the cooperative banks of the country. Good response is there. And yesterday we saw some of this 14 initiatives in credit cooperative, mostly on the credit cooperatives which we have launched, and launching of Sarkar Sarathi also happened yesterday. So that will be one of the priorities which we will want to take it to the next level. Maybe in another 1 year, we want to have a disruptive intervention in the rural prosperity.
Yeah.
By disruptive intervention, it can be both negative and positive, but I meant positive intervention, which will actually, now Government of India is coming out with a rural prosperity, rural resilience program, which is from the Rural Development Department. Now, we want to converge it through the cooperatives, and have to make it really beneficial for member-driven institutions where welfare will remain, and the resilience and prosperity which we are talking about will happen through cooperatives. Once it happens, then the augmentation of the growth rate will be faster. So that is one area priority which we will have. And then, as I said earlier, transforming this self-help group into into women cooperatives.
Yes.
And we have seen a potential of around 30,000 such groups across the country should come in. And then they will be digitized properly. So right now, their data also is in a very dispersed manner it is available. So over and above this, a data layer will be coming in. So we are talking about artificial intelligence these days,
Yeah.
but the basis of that is that we need to have data.
Data.
Without data, artificial intelligence will not have any meaning.
Correct.
So now with this computerization happening, we are getting close to around 13 crore member data from the primary agriculture credit societies. So that data need to be warehoused properly.
Correct.
So we are coming out with a data warehouse for cooperatives where all this data will be stored in a way that it can be accessed by any entity. So this will be developed as a digital public good.
Yeah.
So by this means, any private entity coming in and setting up this data warehouse would have incurred a lot of cost, which they will try to try to even it out through some costing, or rather providing actually charging for any of the use cases. So with a sovereign entity like NABARD getting involved,
Yeah.
I think cost of providing such services will be reduced, and we will actually intend, or rather ask those entities which are working on this data to pass on this cost benefit to the end user,
Yes.
so that
Yeah.
the rural people can access or better services using this data. And once this data warehouse or a data lake which we are bringing, which will be the natural progression of this PRAX computerization program, plus the banking data which is available now in the cooperative banking, that also in a dispersed manner. They are also, though in core banking solution, they don't have proper data warehouse. These two will merge. That means a wealth of data will be available, and over that we'll put AI models and all, which we'll invite. And this Earth Summit is meant for that. Actually now we are at a mature stage where data is now increasingly being available from the
Yes.
cooperative and the rural sector. Rural sector is having deficiency of data, though data exists, it exists in papers and maybe in Excel sheets and such other things. So we will be warehousing the rural sector data, cooperative sector data, and now we are at a stage where we can showcase this data to the tech companies, fintech or agri-tech or rural tech, climate tech, all these use cases will be there. We are also as we build this data lake, it is a climate resilient data lake also. We have partnered with many entities, national and international, including the UNDP, to develop a data in climate resilient agriculture, which is a climate data warehouse, which will be integrated with these data warehouse which I am talking about. And then we'll invite, as a first step, this Earth Summit is there. We'll be intending this to, making it an annual event. Maybe more regional events, smaller events also may happen next year onwards, a national and culminating in the national event. And then we'll have, we'll also engage with global players in this field, so that the best of the technology should come in this sector, the AI, ML modeling, all these things. So if we are not doing this, then a private entity will be doing in a dispersed manner, but it will be costlier also. And it will be another case for extracting welfare from the rural area. So we want to prevent that. So we want to democratize AI and ML activities in rural areas by showcasing this as a digital public good. And that will be one of the priorities of NABARD. And that is a huge priority which we need to have. And then related to that is the climate resilience programs. We are coming out with taxonomy. We are actually coming out with green taxonomy for agriculture sector, which at the national level, sector-specific green taxonomies are being evolved by the Government of India. We are partnering with the Department of Economic Affairs for that. So as a corollary to that, we are now working for building climate database plus a green lending facility we are having. Then impact funds we have set up where we will build capacities in rural economies for climate resilience, and followed up with some impact fund also, where reduction of the cost of accessing credit will also be there. So this will be another priority which we have.
Yeah.
So going forward, we want to push this rural area into the growth movement which is happening elsewhere in the world or within, and we want to make it cost effective.
Yeah.
But for that, NABARD only can be the entity to do that. So that will be the way forward. Maybe in the next 2 years, it will be very, very hectic for NABARD in these activities, and that will actually define the real rural prosperity and resilience for the country.
Yeah. Fascinating how data, its availability and its archiving and channelizing, a simple, well, it's not so simple, of course, it's so massive, can have so many ripple effects, like, from empowering these communities to climate sustainability to agricultural planning and so much more in the future. So, yeah, and that you are going to be doing it over the next 3-4 years is even more promising, because artificial intelligence is taking over our lives and our daily functioning before we can even blink. So,
The problem here is that without adequate data, if AI is getting implemented in rural areas, it will come out with some solution which will be funny. And if somebody believes in the solution, go in that direction, they'll go Agri. It will be difficult for them. So now this is right time that one probability is that without data, some funny solutions will come, which may not be optimum solutions, or with adequate data coming in, with democratizing that also, cost of AI implementation
Correct.
will be reduced,
Yeah.
and they also will come up, because we are in the early stages of AI ML. Now they are telling about quantum computing also.
Yeah.
There are talks, because of course quantum computing is still in the labs, but it may disrupt again. Before artificial intelligence reach a certain level, it may get replaced by quantum computing, which will have, for all these things, data is the base.
Okay.
And urban India may have adequate data,
Yeah.
but then if you are not doing this now, then rural India will be left out. There will be actually, there will be earlier we talked about digital divide, maybe AI divide or some sort of that. They will be absolutely out of
Yeah.
this. And government, problem with the government getting, especially state governments, getting into data is very difficult now. But they are also now realizing, and that is where Government of India, Agri Stack, which is a digital public good in
Yeah.
agriculture, where they are capturing data from the agriculture sector. But there, we actually are involved with that, and to actually give proper framework for Agri Stack with credit layer plus other activities also. For example, a farmer. A farmer means a person who is doing agriculture, and he's producing something. But then his personal information is available in terms of Aadhaar. But whether he's linked to agriculture, there is no digital means of linking. So that is one area where he owns the land or he may rent land. He's a lease farmer. So that also need to be digitized. Unless we do that, so there is a farm layer, there is a land layer which is coming in, and then there is a crop. Which crop he's growing? That right now, whatever agricultural loan schemes which we have at the branch level, because I myself was a commercial banker handling a loan, agricultural loan. There, once we do give a loan, appraise a loan, it's all at the last stage, at the cutting edge level, it is only a declaration that he is growing this crop. So that is a document upon which a loan officer is giving a loan. So it is there itself, the data is lost.
Yeah.
So therefore, capturing that, we need to have some sort of high-end activities like remote sensing and such other things, which now through AgriStack, which is coming.
Right. No, of course, and most importantly, data needs vision. You can keep aggregating data, you can keep collecting data, but how to channelize it? And what you were saying earlier about there being so much data, and if it's not tapped into, well, the potential exists, and if NABARD and the government of India doesn't tap into it, there will be at some point private companies which will tap into it, and there will be profiteering, which we see happening in so many other sectors, and also there's a security angle. So data, of course, should be gathered and kept in safe hands and utilized rather than used. So I think there is a very nuanced difference between the two, and NABARD is doing that, precisely that, utilizing the data for the benefit of the farmers, for the rural economy. Also, sir, talking to you, I'm realizing that till now, even though majority of Indians, the population is involved, engaged in the rural economy, the engine of India's economy invariably comes from urban India and the industrial economy. So in terms of, not in terms of volume, but in terms of value. So that I think is lopsided, and it is going to turn towards the rural economy. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that happening?
So I feel, engine, you said engine of Indian economy is urban. That's what you stated.
Yes.
But that urban includes people who have migrated from rural areas.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why they migrated? And it is actually, it's actually killing the cities. You see that in terms of
Yes.
air quality, the pollution which is coming,
Yeah.
the mobility getting affected and all. So in that context, whatever we are doing now will stop
Yeah.
that. And then whatever real economic activity which is happening, it can happen at the place of residence of these people
Right.
itself. So that is where the transformation of agriculture into agribusiness. That is
Yeah.
one of the statements in the previous budget by the Honorable Finance Minister. So she told about transforming agriculture to agribusiness. That includes processing activities coming in. So now, if you see the Indian economy or the composition of GDP growth, it's services sector-led growth. This can take the economy to a certain level only. Beyond that, actual production, real sector economy should come in. Service sector economy, of course, it will give a lot of jobs and all. Beyond the certain level, the manufacturing sector should be, prompted to grow faster.
Yeah.
And that can happen only when agriculture turn to agro processing and such other activities.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
there also, if a private company is coming in, then the
Exploitation.
equity exploitation, the equity in development, those things.
Yeah,
And that was the basis of aggregating the farmers into farmer producer
Yeah.
organizations. So NABARD started that in 2012, 2013, and then we experimented with that. And Government of India now scaled up into 10,000 FPO program. But scaling up was little faster with the adequate capacity not built into this organization, because these are all organic growth which need to happen. So we need to parallelly build capacities to handle these
Yeah.
things. So that is where the CEOs of the farm producer organization, they should be properly trained. They should handle a business. It's actually a CEO of a private company handling an agro business entity at the grassroots level. Without adequate training, he will look to always to government for support in terms of grants and all, which by definition itself is not sustainable. So now we are as a party, as a part of that. If you see the original 1904 when cooperatives started formalized into cooperative societies, they are the original farm producer organizations. But then over a time, because of various reasons, lack of even including lack of administrative empathy, they would have not developed in that direction. So now we are reinventing these societies as farm producer organizations. Now at the apt time, the realization came at the Government of India level that this is the right time to reinvigorate this cooperative movement as a parallel to FPO movement. So FPO movement will stay, but then cooperative movement will take up these production activities. And these are all essentially MSME activities. And NABARD also is now trying to support this into, we have developed sort of policies for accentuating this growth. We, in fact, set up a specialized department. Earlier it was an off-farm sector department. Now it has been focused on SME, so we call it as Rural MSME Department. And if you see the balance sheet also of NABARD, almost 60-65% of the balance sheet is meant for SME support. It's not agriculture. By name, we recognize ourselves as National Bank for Agriculture. But then we are now becoming a National Bank for SME, agro SME, of course.
Sure.
And then we also realize that rural development can happen by increasing the production activities at the rural level, and that too happening through agro business. And then the urban-led development, which you have told, will be gradually transforming into semi-urban-led development and then rural-led development. And when that happens, yesterday also Minister was telling about equity in growth. Real growth, the fruits of India's growth will be reaching to the rural areas through such activities.
Right.
If you see the per capita income divide, which is there in the urban-rural divide, 60% of the population may cater to around 30-35% of the GDP, whereas remaining 40% cater to the double of that, or rather close to around 70% of GDP. That itself means that the per capita income of urban India is 3 times that of rural India. So that divide needs to be bridged. And once you bridge the divide, pressure on cities also will thin.
Will reduce.
And that is where Government of India now is coming out with having some cities also around the existing cities, smaller cities around that. They're also planning, which will be manufacturing hubs of that. So in that direction also planning happens.
Right.
So future it will be a semi-urban led development or rural led government, led development to reduce the pressure on the cities,
Right.
which will overall improve the quality of life in India.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. And that note, better lives for everyone, rural, urban, all of us, and empowering rural economies. We bring the session to an end. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Nice talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, everyone, for being here for this very important fireside chat. Thank you once again. Moving ahead, we'll have the panel discussion. The topic is Agri 5.0, AI, robotics, and data for farm productivity. As we are running late, I would directly call upon the stage our panelists for the next session. Mr. Aamol Komar Chaudhary, Partner, Technology Enablement for Financial Services, KPMG. Mr. Aamol Komar Chaudhary, Mr. Goverdhan Singh Rawat, Deputy Managing Director, NABARD. Dr. Alok Mukherjee, Director, Research, LeadsConnect. Dr. Alok Mukherjee. Mr. Shubham Arora, Head, Sales and Business Development, Sarvam. And Mr. Sujit Uttara Janardanan, CMO, Neysa Networks. Ladies and gentlemen, this session will be moderated by Mr. Aamol Komar Chaudhary. Okay. Welcome to all. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Aamol Chaudhary. I'm a partner with the KPMG Tech Enablement Practice. And so today, the topic that we are going to discuss actually summarizes the theme of this entire event, Agri 5.0, AI, robotics, and data. So for last few decades, the focus has been on yield, which has now shifted on resilience. So when we talk about farm resilience, the new technologies, the emerging technologies actually come into picture. How can we use artificial intelligence, robotics, smart data analysis to ensure that our farms are not only sustainable, self-optimizing, but also resilient when it comes to the variability of weather, soil degradation, and unavailability of unstructured data. So we have quite a distinguished panel with us today. Mr. Goverdhan Rawat, Deputy Managing Director, NABARD. I have Alok Mukherjee. Just a moment, please. Alok Mukherjee is the Director Research at LeadsConnect. And we have Shubham Arora, Shubham is the head of sales and business development at Sarvam. We'll get into the details of the topic that I just spoke about, and we'll right away start our discussion. We'll get into it right away. There has been a bit of a delay. So two of our panelists have to bow out of the session because of the current, indigo crisis. So there are 4 of us. We'll try to make best of our time. So I'll start with Goverdhan sir. Yeah. So, sir, since you have been driving the policy, the financing, and tech enablement from NABARD side, I have a question for you, that how is NABARD envisioning the transition from smart farming to resilient farming in the Agri 5.0 era? Would like to hear your views on that.
Okay, so all of you know that the entire agri value chain, if you see the entire agri value chain, right from the availability of inputs, the quality of inputs, the application of inputs. And when I talk about inputs, it's not only the agri inputs, I'm also talking about the credit as an input. So what are the challenges there? And then if you see the production system, entire production system, and the post-production system, right up to the marketing. So we all know what are the inefficiencies in this entire agri value chain. So this is one area where we are trying to address that in each segment of this, in each spoke of this entire agri value chain, what we can do. So as a development finance institution, one area that we are actually looking at is the credit part of it. That credit as an input, how we can provide credit in a very seamless way. And while credit for landholders is easy to come by because we have a very formal structure in terms of KCCs. So it's a well-defined structure. But then there is a huge segment because of the migration to urban areas. There are a lot of absentee landlords, a lot of tenant farmers, those who are practicing agriculture, but they don't have access to credit, the formal credit. Whereas the formal credit today, if you see, it's available at around 7% for normal farmers. But these farmers, those who actually practice agriculture, but they don't have access to credit. So this is one area where we are trying to address through use of technology, through use of the data that is available, and some of the innovative way, like the central bank digital currency that is there. So we are trying to address that, how it can be addressed. So that is one area that we are working on. The second area is in terms of the entire agri value chain. So we are funding, in fact, we started one of the earliest funds which is entirely focused on agri and rural in terms of providing some of these technological solutions or digital solutions or the agri-tech companies to come into this boat. Although all of us know that the fintech companies investment is quite easier as compared to agri and rural. So we were one of the first to do that. And apart from that, now one government of India has also partnered with us along with Ministry of Agriculture. We are launched another fund for that. And as the first fund for Agri Focus Fund gets closed, we are launching another fund. So that is one way of focusing on technological solutions to all these issues around the entire agri value chain. So that is one. And apart from that, we have also set up maybe around 10 incubation centers in various agri universities and IITs. They are also incubating these early stage companies, very early stage companies, by providing them the enabling infrastructure to test the technology, to commercialize the technology. So that is another area through which we are trying to see that how by using technology, bringing in some tech experts, utilizing data, how efficiencies can be brought in the entire agri value chain. That is what we are trying to do.
So my follow-up question, since you mentioned that you are actively incubating and onboarding startups, maybe fintech providers, to ensure that not only NABARD, but all the, everybody, entire ecosystem that is connected to NABARD, be it farmers, cooperatives, get the benefit out of that. So what are those programs that NABARD has been specifically running, whether it comes to funding, investing, or co-creating some of these technology solutions, whether it is in AI, robotics, or advanced data analytics. So what are the initiatives NABARD runs?
So as I mentioned, I mean, we have already launched one fund in around 2020. So that as that fund gets closed, so we are launching another fund.
Okay.
So another fund I also mentioned about the Agri Shore Fund, which we are implementing along with the Government of India. And the third one, again, I mentioned about the incubation centers that we are promoting. So these are some of the initiatives that we are doing. And apart from that, we have also directly invested in some of the funds, some of these agri-tech funds and the fintech funds, which are addressing these solutions. So these are the areas where we are working at. And not only the entire agri value chain, as I said, the credit partnership, access to credit. So that is another. And in the just concluded session, you must have heard about chairman. That another area that we are looking at is on one side we have these agri-tech companies, the tech solution providers. On the other hand, we are working with the farmers producer companies and other community-based organizations. We are discussing about the cooperatives. So that is another big area that we are working. So it's not only the technology part for the cooperative credit cooperative societies, but also providing them different type of business opportunities, enterprises opportunities. So that is another area in terms of by providing them concessional finance, for example, for the entire cooperative sector, for having a grain storage, we are providing a concessional finance. So similarly, there are many areas where we are through concessional finance, direct investment through our funds. That is what we are working on.
Oh, quite remarkable initiatives NABARD has been running. So my second question is to Shubham. See, we have AI is a dominating theme, not only of this event, but every conversation. Now, to do any launch, build, or productionize any AI intervention, you have to have really good quality data, right? So just tell us, what is Sarvam doing to ensure or to build solutions which are very, very relevant for the agri-tech or agri sector, and how are you managing this entire data value chain? How are you sourcing the data? How are you creating alternative sources of data? How are you consuming those?
Sure. So first of all, I'll take the two-parter and make it into a three-parter. I think it's important to understand what Sarvam really does first before I address the two-parter. Number one, we are a fundamental research lab. We build LLMs from scratch in India, very deeply focused to India nuances, starting from financial services to governance to agriculture, healthcare, and education, right? So we build all of these large language models from scratch with a particular nuanced focus on Indian languages, because I don't think anybody is going to build for India if not us. Clearly, nobody else is really building for India, right? So we're about a 2-year-old organization, very deeply grounded on research. What sort of initiatives are we doing already for financial services and agri together? I will take this, combine both of them because I think both of them are very closely related to each other. There are two holy grails of AI. One is how can you speak to many people at once, making them believe it's a absolutely personalized conversation with them. Let's put this in the bucket of conversational AI. There's another bucket, the other holy grail of AI, which is how can you make your most important, most valued resources even more productive. Resource could be anything, right? I'll not go deeper into the resources. And I'll talk about both the sort of things that we're doing. So By the way, one other important thing to understand is we're also building the sovereign LLM with the Ministry of Electronics and IT that we'll release just the next month. As part of that release, we'll be giving the government of India not just one model, we'll be giving a family of models. One model that will be part of this family is going to be an Agri LLM, which will be grounded in the reality of how agriculture happens in India. So for example, Masoor ki dal is said in 6 different words all across India, at the very minimum, right? Disease is pronounced in 17 different ways. Maybe you move across 100 kilometers, the definition of a disease changes, right? Fertilizers, pesticides are also called in different ways. So this is a very diverse and very rich kind of data that has not been used to build any such LLM. Imagine if you're thinking of doing any sort of agricultural intervention, there is no data. There's nobody who's consuming this data to build any LLM, right? Whatever gets produced out, garbage in, garbage out is going to happen, right? So this is a problem that needs to be solved. Imagine all these large frontier labs have built out, after spending a couple of $100 billion, have built out LLMs that do a fair bit well in terms of, English language, multiple other domains. But imagine there is no data about agriculture or science or technology in Odia and Gujarati. There is no such data on the internet. So what we are doing is we are actually curating very high quality data here in India. And the sovereign models that will be released in January will have about 17 trillion tokens of this Indian data that we've curated in-house. And these models are going to be using that data, right? Just for context, some of these frontier labs, like an OpenAI or an Anthropic, also use a similar volume of data, right? This is published information. For again, another context, all of Wikipedia combined is about 250 billion tokens only, right? So not even a trillion. So that's the kind of data that we are talking about. So just so that you understand what does it take to build a model, even to build a model, you need to spend probably about a year and a half or two to build this data set and make this very, very high quality, non-trivial effort, right? Once these LLMs are built out, what sort of interventions and solutions one can think of? Let's start with agriculture, right? Something that we're doing with feature phone providers and NPC, I'll talk about 2 such interventions. With folks like Nokia, we're building a Kisan and Swanidhi focused interface where Kisan and Swanidhi will be able to ask any question pertinent to their domain and get an answer on a feature phone. So you're actually making this very powerful technology that has immense amounts of leverage accessible to the last mile Bharatiya. You don't need even a smartphone. You don't need to know English to do this. You shoot out your problem. What is the crop rate? What is the weather going to look like tomorrow? I've suffered this disease. Help me understand how to get rid of this disease. I want to take some credit. Any question. Something like a ChatGPT, but for Swanidhis and Kisans, right? This is one intervention. Another problem that I discovered that a whole bunch of our cooperative bank friends are facing with is UPI. UPI, again, is a little bit, while it is very inclusive, it's probably the most recognizable technology that India has built out all across the world. It's only limited to about 470 million Indians, which is again limited by smartphone users. There are 500 million smartphone users in India. What if we could make this technology completely available on feature phones so that you could do stuff like, Didi ko 1000 rupees bhej dijiye, mera ye wala bill pay kar dijiye. Very smart technology. You don't even need to be digitally literate to be able to operate this technology. Everything in Indian languages on voice, on feature phones that do not have internet, on 2G feature phones, right? The third sort of thing, again, think of anything that a human can do on a call. These AI systems can do probably much more intelligently with 0 errors at a fraction of the cost of what a human does. So imagine, let's say in the life cycle of somebody who's interested in a credit product, from the point where a cooperative bank is thinking or a rural RRB is thinking of generating a lead, to qualifying that lead, to actually converting the lead, welcoming them within the doors of the bank, collecting missed EMIs as well, everything you can do with a bunch of interventions. And this is, again, whatever I'm saying is not something that is, on a white paper or something like that. multiple different organizations from commercial banks to NBFCs, and now with the efforts from SSPL, a few cooperative banks are also starting to do this. So this is, let's say in a nutshell, the kind of stuff that we're doing. Yeah.
So there has to be a very close interlock between the financial ecosystem in the country and the agri ecosystem. Being a nation where almost 50% of the people are employed in this sector, out of those 50%, I think 40% of our crops are rain-fed, right? So when I have to imagine a full stack of agri-data tech platform, right? There is data coming from those traditional sources, data about people. Then there is a lot of data that is emanated by a lot of devices, whether it is sensors, IoT devices, satellite data, all of it, what I am putting in place to study the entire agri ecosystem. So if I have to imagine this entire full stack data platform for agri-tech, okay, how do you see it? What is your imagined version of the full stack data platform for agri-tech?
Perfect. Let me take a shot at defining the data stack, and then I'll take a shot at defining the data and AI stack as well, because all of this data is only useful if there is some sort of intelligence being done on top of this, right? So there is all sorts of data. First of all, first principle needs to be you need to aggregate all of this data at one place, accessible to everybody. Let's take some inspiration where let's say some appreciation is due. So Niti Aayog did this wonderful project about 5 years ago called National Data Access Program, called NDAP. They aggregated data from about 53 ministries at one platform. Relatively simple endeavor to take, but in all of the last 10 years, it's been a little bit of an effort to make this data actually usable, right? Imagine for agriculture, there are going to be many sources, not just 53, probably 5,300 sources of credible high quality data. So number one responsibility, and I'm probably making this ask to the room, there might be some people who might be in a position to influence some of these things as well, right? So first of all, get all of this data at one place, then somebody needs to make all of this data absolutely usable. With generative AI, again, I'm an AI practitioner. I'll probably apply the hammer again of AI to this problem as well. You don't need humans and data engineers and business analysts in that much volume as you would need 5 years ago. AI can do a lot of the data cleaning for you. That's what we do for ourselves as well. We do a lot of synthetic data generation and data cleaning, right? Once this data is there, you need to also segregate them into training sources and inference sources. So what does that mean? Let's say the richness of data about all sorts of crops in India. Well, I'll probably put it in the training source and put it in the inference source as well, right? But let's say there will be some data that may not have any reason to exist in, let's say, the trainings here. Let's say historical prices. There's no reason for it to exist in the training source. So there needs to be some effort put in to segregate this data. And I think some effort is being put in by METI to build these AI coaches of sorts so that multiple people can use this. But I don't think it is going to be a very agri-focused endeavor. Somebody will need to take the mantle to make a agri-focused endeavor for this, right? Once all of this data is there, you wrangle across all of this data, make that data ready for training, build an LLM. Just that one base LLM is not going to be sufficient. You need to run all sorts of supervised fine-tuning, reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards, preference optimization to tailor for a Gujarat farmer versus an Andhra Pradesh farmer. That sort of tuning needs to be done because it is very fancy to imagine, that one weapon that will kill everything. That weapon does not exist, how much ever loud that dream sounds, right? So that preference optimization is also a meaningful exercise to take. Once, let's say, you have established the LLM layer. Now these LLMs can open up, let's say, 20-30% of the universe to you. An LLM by itself is, although maybe most of you would have experienced an LLM in some shape or form wherever, it's not the solution. An LLM requires a whole bunch of harness around it to be able to produce meaningful results, right? So that harness around, context engineering, around memory of the user, of the organization, across sessions. evals, monitoring. I'm going to be going very deep technically. I'll not go into that much technical depth, but it requires a fair bit of harness to be built around that LLM to produce any meaningful value. There is a reason why over the last 3 years, let's say post ChatGPT, you don't see anything large in production. There have been, pockets of use cases that have done pilots, people who've attempted to solve. So we work with, really sophisticated engineering teams who've also not been able to do this by themselves. So let's call this the agent orchestration layer, which will give you cake batter to build whatever applications using capabilities around deep research, around workflow automation, around agentic reasoning, conversational AI, and the ability to author low-code, no-code applications very fast.
Great. Yeah. So going to Alok, my question is twofold for you. One is, if you would want to add your point of view in this entire full stack of Agri data platform. Other thing is moving a little bit towards the satellite analytics, okay, and AI-based soil diagnostic. How practical use cases are being built, could be built, and what impact could it make on entire agri-tech ecosystem? If you can share your views on that.
Sure, sir. Firstly, very good afternoon, respected dignitaries on and off the desk, and thank you so much for inviting us to share our thoughts on this very important topic. Yes, I would like to start, and we are one agency which has been working like for last 7-8 years and have been associated with Ministry of Agriculture also for delivering yield projects and all. Few of the things that we developed our like the flagship product which we call Agri, Agriculture and Disaster Risk Analysis using Next Intelligence, a full stack Agri platform, geoportal. Okay. I would like to say, because it's the August gathering, from the perspective of research, that few of the things which we need to take care, and the second question also very pertinent, the soil system side. But I will first start with this, the entire full stack idea and the LLMs, means the thing, the data, and the entire full stack understanding. I would like to say with all humility that this is a country of around 130 ecological zones. Each zone has its own thresholds, local complexities, and it behaves very differently. We are also coming up with like Kriti SSG at LLM, but I right now don't want to go into that. I want to go into the core scientific principles of this one. Why? So we understood one thing in this journey, that when we're talking about the full stack understanding, the entire idea of creation of agri-stack at least should not be confined to farms. It should, agriculture itself is an ecological event. An ecological event should not be addressed ignoring the ecological parameters. We should have something, kind of a proxy of the synchronized parameters which should be included in the entire analysis. So it's full stack. So it's not just about the data stack, the analytics, it is about the connecting the entire value chain from when we say digitalization. So we need to, I will take a few minutes to explain it in detail. That from onboarding to the last mile, this reaching out to everyone. And when we are seeing the alerts and advisory at the farm level and hyperlocal, with all responsibility, humility, and all conviction. Right now, we have a current reach of the farms. I'm not saying that like 100 million. We are around 160 districts currently working for delivering services for different central nodal agencies. In fact, in Karnal, we are also one of the appointed partner by NABARD also for the advisories for the FPOs, and at the hyperlocal level, the farm level and all. When we developed some proprietary algorithms from this, the entire idea of full stack, the proprietary algorithms like agricultural credit scores, the crop fertility scores, the value chain score. Actually, the entire journey started with one very kind of a mother of everything, land utility score. Everything else is subsidiary. Right now, we are talking about data. When we talk about data, it's not just about the unavailability or something. The consistency is the issue. When we delivered a project very successfully to the central nodal agencies and generated more than 500 scenarios for yield, we understood one thing, that when we build intelligent systems, and we also employed generative AI principles and architects and all, but we understood one very basic thing, and very important thing, that suppose it's a kind of a Bayesian architecture, the conditional trees and all. Our one parameter is totally dependent on like a multifold parameters and all. I need to have the understanding of entire thing. So on 25th of June, I would like to just share with this August gathering, we launched one very kind of a plugin to our flagship product Agri that we call Devi, Development Indices Sub-Sati, satellite and photograph analytics, using what? Scores. So 10 proprietary algorithms we built to understand to decipher constitute the dynamics of the entire ecosystem to handle the agricultural event. Second, heuristic, the entire understanding, why it is happening. Association, if it is there, how it is related to the other parameters. And then the transition dynamics. If we say something, there is any deviation, so what can we do? Now, a very important question considering the soil diagnostic. Remote sensing is, and actually has been playing a huge role in this regard also. Why? And I'll again come to this, the data aspect of the intelligent systems also. So under this Devi Sub-Sati initiative only, we launched one pan-India score which we call SOL, Soil Utility Level Score. I would like to share one thing. The traditional understanding, conventional understanding is that whenever you want to have understanding of the soil dynamics, you go to the field with sensors, get the data, and it's not scalable. It's very much required to build intelligent systems and all. But what we have to do? So we developed a proprietary algorithm using satellite analytics that how to mimic, how to understand the soil health. So remote sensing played space tech AI played a very instrumental role to construe the soil health in the context of soil organic carbon quantification, moisture, and how is it going to affect the other aspects of the agro-ecosystem. And most importantly, just a while ago I said one thing, scores, heuristic, association, and transition insights. So it means sometimes we may not have the data at that level which is required to build an intelligent system. So we need a proxy architecture. So if the physiological stress is somewhere seen through the satellite derived indices, then it means there can be an issue with the soil side also. So we build an entire deep, very architecture for this association understanding also. So space tech AI is playing a role, and we have developed algorithms and demonstrated on the field also, and shown also that the data that we get through the sensors and through these proprietary algorithms are in sync and positively correlated, and very much required to understand one thing. This is the era of climate change and the weather aberrations. So many gaps are there. The things that we have seen in the last decade, we may not see in the next decade, and the things will change very fast. Yeah. So we need to fill these gaps. So here, space tech AI will be playing a key role, but yes, how are we building these intelligent systems will be the key. AI, how we are going to use AI is the solution.
Yeah, so the platform, solutions, models will continue to evolve. Considering the paucity of time, I have a last question to Rawat sir. That what are the gaps that you see in the rural digital infrastructure which could prevent or which could delay the implementation of this Agri 5.0? And what is it that you think should be done or is being done to fill those gaps?
Yeah, I think everybody talked about the structured data, the availability of data. So that is, I think, one key area. And if you see what the government is doing to address that is the entire agri stack that we are talking about. That entire agri stack, if we have that data related to the farmer and farming, three data which the agri stack is trying to capture. And if that gets structured, because why I'm saying structured is when we are trying to address some of the issues related to EKCC. So every state has a different unit for measuring a land. So now structuring that. So I mean, just a simple thing like as simple as that. So once this data gets captured, properly structured, I think a lot of solutions can be built on top of that. So that is what I think the government priority on digital agriculture mission last year with the government announced. So that's a huge step towards that, because if that happens, and not only agriculture, similar effort is being made towards fisheries, similar effort is being made for other allied activities like livestock. So if that data gets captured, and then the agri-tech and fintech companies come on top of that, and then bring in the solution, and then on top of that, the investor-friendly or the investment that is required for all those agri-tech companies or the startups to take it forward. So there's an enabling environment for funding the agri startups also. I mean, many government of India schemes which facilitate this onboarding of technology by the agri startups. So these are the steps that's being taken by government of India. And on one hand, all the technologies type aspects where we are talking about how do we bring in technology to bring that transformational change that is required in the agriculture sector. At the same time, when it comes to application at the ground level, another area that is crucial is affordability of that. So whatever solution we are providing, whether it is affordable. Another challenge is how user-friendly is that. So that is another area. So the technology is there, but it may not be user-friendly for that particular. And like both of them mentioned about every region and every season has a different problem and different type of challenge. So you can't have one solution fitting or addressing everything. So that is another area that whatever solution you are giving, whether it is user-friendly, easy to use, so that is another aspect that, so whenever you are talking about technology and providing that any type of solutions, affordability, usability, and then data, all these things are part of it. And then I think government is taking up the right step, that digital agriculture mission that I spoke about, similar things in other areas of agri-allied and agri-fisheries sector. So I think, so the steps are in the right direction. Another area is in terms of how we reach out to the communities, to the farmers, those for whom it is required. So that is where I think the community-based model in terms of the farmers producer organizations and how these two entities interact with each other. So on one side, we have a farmers producer organizations or a cooperative societies, and on the other side, this side. So it helps to interact both of them. The farmers bring in their problem statement and they provide the solutions to that. So we need to have a strong community-based organization at the grassroots level, and then these technology solutions from the other side.
Maybe a strong public and private partnership. And as you summarize it pretty well, the problem and also the solution lies in the quality of data or lack of it, right? So this is what is driving the conversation.
I'd just like to address two of the problem statements that you mentioned, sir. One was around, availability of good quality data. The second was around dissemination of information. Some things that we are doing, let's say, to gather very high quality farm data. So we are conducting the digital crop survey with about 8 crore farmers as we speak. Historically, this crop survey has never been completed. So probably by January 30th, this digital crop survey will have reliable data, verifiable data of 8 crore farmers on what they are growing actually.
So, this is a subject where we can have endless conversation. The time is never enough. But thanks a lot for your time. And thanks to the audience as well. Thank you very much to NABARD for organizing this entire summit and this panel. So thanks a lot for sharing these really, really valuable insights. It was a pleasure. I hope we had some more time, but maybe next time.
Thank you all the speakers, and thank you, moderator sir. Please be here for a few seconds. I would like to invite on stage Shri Pankaj Yadav, CGM NABARD. Kindly come upon the stage and present a memento. Our moderator, Mr. Aamol Kumar Chaudhary, Partner, Technology Enablement for Finance Services, KPMG. Thank you, sir. Dr. Alok B. Mukherjee, Director, Research, LeadsConnect. Mr. Shubham Arora, Head, Sales and Business Development, Sarvam. Thank you once again.
I think
A for Alok and S for Shubham, आस. तो आप हमारी आस हैं जो यंगस्टर्स हैं जो इस तरह से ड्राइव कर रहे हैं और उसके अंदर रावत सर का आरे लगा देते हैं तो आसरा बन जाता है. मीन्स व्हेन आस एंड नाबार्ड कंबाइंस तो वी कैन डिपेंड ऑन दैट दिस सेटअप एज सच. आई थिंक विल डू समथिंग वेरी गुड. या थैंक यू.
Sir, please be here for a group photo. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So I would like to tell you that we have more 4 sessions after the lunch. So we will reassemble here sharp by 1:55 and we will start the next session at 2 o'clock. So please have lunch and come fast. But before we break for the lunch, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank our valued partners whose support has made the Earth Summit possible. Diamond partner, Infibim Avenues, Lanyard partner, Right Data, Credit